We good to go?
Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. Today is a Tuesday, September 16th, 2025, and this is the Cottonwood Heights City Council work session. My name is Mayor Mike Quickers. The first item on our agenda is a review of our business meeting for this evening. And we will start, like always, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Highland, you okay to lead us in that? Thanks.
Remind me.
Okay.
You identify who's gonna do it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Thanks.
We will, item 3 is our city council committee reports that we'll look forward to hearing from everyone. And then we'll have a citizen comment period. Item 5 is a public hearing, and the public hearing is to receive input on the proposed amended budget for the 25-26 fiscal year. So Scott, I know that we've kind of discussed that. Do you want to take a moment and go over anything, or go do it again, or what would you like to do? I'm probably going to have you do that in the business meeting again, just because we'll be voting on it as well.
Yeah, whatever you want to do, we talked about some of the things that are on it, but other things might not be as familiar. Do you want me to go over?
Yeah, if
it?
you could, let's just go over it. Yeah. Yep.
All right, we can go over it. Try to find which one it is. Sorry, it's taking so long.
That's okay. That's okay. While you're doing that, maybe we, chief, item 6 on the agenda to this evening is CHPD personnel updates. Anything that you want to know? That sounds like we have some promotions. Is that right?
We do, and so we'll just present them to the council. It's with Chief Prinneman's retirement caused a ripple effect, so we've anointed, as you know, Chris McHugh as assistant chief. We've promoted Scott Ricks to captain, and Ken Etchell to the rank of lieutenant, and Kyler Burrows to the rank of sergeant. They'll all be here.
Sorry, who was the last one?
Kyler?
Kyler to sergeant. Great.
Yes, to the rank of
Our
Sergeant.
sergeant. You said,
Yeah, and
yeah.
they'll be here, and I'll just present them at the podium, and
Great.
you can abuse them as you see fit.
No, great.
We're proud of them. It's a good move.
Yeah, all very well deserved. Thank you. Okay, that'll be fun. Okay, Scott, we'll come back to you.
Okay, so several things in here. I'll just kind of go through them one by one. So first, we've talked a lot about the Granicus software related to short-term rental analysis. And the final amount on that ended up to be $27,176 on that one. So we'll get that in here and get it going. Number 2 is we had an HVAC failure over on the police side of the building the other day, and we need this to be able to handle that. We don't have large sums of money in our building maintenance budget. We basically have enough to clean and then minor things to take care of, but with big failure, we just didn't have enough money to be able to cover that. So that's $32,519.
You have to have AC over there.
We had fans going, it was still 89 degrees, it was crazy.
And we're out of warranty on that. That seems like not a very long life for that system.
It would have been 10-ish years. Being in 2025 and it started in 16. And
But I don't have to replace the HVAC in my house every 10 years.
Yeah, but I don't know that the warranty lasts that long. We hope it doesn't go out that quick, but there's not really a warranty that goes that long. Item number 3 is IT storage retention and recovery requirements. And so what has happened there is we had quite a large upswing in terms of the video storage specifically, as it relates to several of the things that specifically the police have to keep literally forever with various investigations, both homicides and accident reconstruction and other things. that kind of go along with the FARO equipment that we have. It could be some other stuff too, but it's creating a spike in our storage needs, and we have to back those up and everything else to be in compliance with the federal standards on that and everything. So it kind of caught us a little bit unawares, but that started to ramp up. I don't know, maybe April timeframe, we kind of started it, thought it might be an abnormality, but it's kept going up at a larger, in terms of storage, a larger pace. So anyhow, so that's so we can get that to where it needs to get to.
Is that hardware or is that cloud storage?
Both. Yeah, because we have to store it here, then we have to have backup of it so that we don't have to lose it if we have a failure here of something. Item number 4, this was adopted, I might have been the last meeting or the meeting before that, but the Utah Arts and Museum Grant for the Arts Council resolution was 2025-66. This is a $3,800 grant for the Arts Council, recognizing the revenue and the expense. The CDRA fund, we had talked about various projects in there in and near the area that were capital oriented, that we might be able to transfer some funds back to the general fund for those projects that we're taking care of. As we went through and analyzed that really good, we came up with $349,682 that we could transfer back to the general fund on projects that were completed in those areas that we utilized general fund monies for in the past. So that's just a transfer back into this fund from the CDRA fund to cover that cost. And so that's just a pure benefit to the general fund for that amount. The next several items are police oriented, and they're all revenue neutral. So police DUI and other state of Utah public Division of Public Safety reimbursements for overtime, netting to $10,610. Police easy alcohol enforcement overtime reimbursement, $679. Police overtime related to various sporting events, $3,655. Police overtime related to the Brooksy event that we just had this last weekend, $7,310. Police contribution for honorary colonel SWAT band upgrades and training, that's $9,000 even. And then restitution for various incidents that were related to, police incidents, if you will, that were maybe our cars got bumped with something or something along that. Oh yeah, uniforms get damaged as well. So the net in the general fund is an increase in expenses of just under $180,000, an increase in revenues or transfers in of $384,000. So a net benefit or a reduction in use of general fund monies of $204,987. And so that's a good upward adjustment in there rather than utilizing more funds.
The colonels do a lot. Thank them for us, boy.
They will,
They seem
they
like
do,
they're
we're
always
grateful.
donating to help us out.
Capital Projects Fund. So Capital Projects Fund, we're at that stage where we're rebudgeting projects that didn't finish. So for instance, just using big numbers, if we had $1 million project and we spent $500,000 on it last budget year, but we still have $500,000 going forward, we have to rebudget that $500,000 going forward. So that's what we're doing on this. So the net is $22 million in expenditures and $12 million in revenues. And this is a little breakout of that. So the Heights GO project, we've got $14,839,000 in expenses that will carry forward, and then $9,634,000 in revenue carry forward. The revenue could alter a little bit because we can go up slightly above the $30 million limit. It'll allow you to go a little over to help cover some of the closing costs with the bond and stuff. But until we close that second bond, we won't exactly know it. So we're plugging this in there now. So $5,205,000 net funding, that all comes out of the fund balance. So there's no need to be of concern on that one. And then there's a myriad of other general fund capital projects, mainly street related, streets and roads, of $7,635,000 in expense and $3,045,000 in revenues for a net of $4,590,000. So all these subtotals right in here add up into this amount up here, and that's what it makes up. but just so you can see that difference there. Then, in addition to the transfer that we had from the CDRA fund to the general fund, we identified several other projects that we might be able to fund in the Cottonwood Corporate or the Fort Union CDRA areas that total about 290,000 in the Cottonwood Corporate area and 952,000 in the Fort Union area. So that's what this transfer and expense is, so that we can budget to do those projects and transfer those monies out of our CDRA fund, so that we can take care of things in those areas that will utilize those funds that have been sitting in our CDRA fund for a number of years at this point in time. That should use those funds up at that point in time. The number 3 item here is budgeting the money that we currently have received towards the Canyon Center Park. So each year, as we do the tax increment financing related to the Canyon Center, we get a certain amount of money. It's right around $150,000 annually. And we have accumulated $617,000 in there to be able to utilize and budget for that. We started to see just a little bit of expense. I think there were $7,000 or so that we incurred last year, but we need to recognize and budget for the project. We don't know the timing of when that will be. It might be another year or so, but this is the money we've received. And when we receive more money in about April or so of 2026, I'll do an adjustment again to bump this up by whatever that amount is. And it would either be that distribution or the one after it that is our final distribution from the CDRA fund for the Canyon Center Park that's going to be up there and built soon.
Weren't some of these funds going to be already spent in this calendar year toward the design of the park?
Yeah, we spent about 7,000.
That was the 7.
Oh,
Yeah.
only
It
7,000.
wasn't too much.
Yeah.
What was that?
So there's going
It's
to
not
be
the
more
engineering and
expenditures
everything, it's
coming
just
up.
the site.
The
site
illustrative.
design, yeah.
And then there was a Sundown sidewalk repairs. This was a sidewalk that needs some repairs. We wanted to get this budgeted because it's something we're trying to take care of this year. Where there's a lot of unevenness and what have you in the sidewalk that needs to be taken care of, and that's 61,721. So if you add all this up, the only items in here that, if you will, are new monies that haven't been budgeted is this 61,721. This 617 comes from fund balance, and that was money that we had already transferred in there. This is just money that we transfer in and then expend. And then all of the rebudget amount is money that defaults to the fund balance at the end of last fiscal year that we're rebudgeting. So the only really new expense in here is the 61,721, and then we're actually budgeting the Canyon Center
And
Park.
that's coming from CDRA fund balance.
The Canyon Center Park, we had actually transferred the money into here before, but it originated from the CDRA fund, yeah. So, yeah. And then the flip side, or then, stormwater fund, we just wanted to rebudget the remaining amount that we did not expend last year, and that's $573,017. And again, that's just coming from fund balance, but there's no change. It's just whatever reverted to fund balance from the end of last year. And then the CDRA fund, this shows the 349,000. Yeah, a little highlight, right? That we transferred to the general fund for those projects that were older capital projects funded from general fund dollars. And then the $1,242,000, that's the transfer to the capital projects fund, so we can do those identified capital projects in those areas as we move forward. And so that's kind of all the aspects of the budget adjustments that we're proposing. Any questions?
Any other questions? Okay, no, that sounds good. And then that will be, so we'll have the public hearing. We'll move to the CHPD personnel updates, and then we'll move to item 7.1, which is consideration of the ordinance 448 adopting an amended budget for the July 1, 25 through June 30, 26 budget. With this budget amendment that we just talked about. And then the last item for tonight is item 7.2, consideration of resolution 2025-67. Approving the appointment of a treasurer and financial reporting manager. So Reed, is Reed gonna be here tonight?
Yeah, Reed will be here, right?
Great. So Reed Sanderson is our new treasurer, and we're excited that he's will be able to take over these full-time duties. I feel like he's prepared. We were lucky that he was able to spend so much time with Dave. You know, what was that? It's almost 6 months?
No, it was about 3.
Three,
They
okay.
did 6.
Felt like, okay.
We originally wanted 6. Yeah.
Well, we're glad he got those ready. So,
Yeah.
Okay, questions on that? Okay, well, thank you. We'll move back to our work session. And item number 3 is a report that we've invited our Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District General Manager Pam Robinson here. She's here to introduce a very important person to us, so we'll invite them both up.
Hi, thanks for
Okay.
having us.
Felt like you were just here,
Yeah, July 15th.
July 15th.
It's great. It's
Yeah.
always good to visit with you all. As you know, I'm retiring at the end of this month. And so I wanted to make sure that I get my successor, Evan, out here to introduce himself. And he's very able to do that. But before I do, I think, we've been doing succession planning this year, the leadership team and I, to prepare for my departure in the next chapter. And Evan, and I know the organization and the team is going to be in good hands, as well as Cotton Heights City and all of our cities that are in the district. So Evan, if you want to take it from there.
Sure, thank you, Pam.
What's your last name, Evan?
Yes, my last name is Tyrrell, which has kind of been a bit of a challenge for many to pronounce, and
How do you spell it?
it's been mispronounced my entire life. I usually don't correct people. Tyrrell, so 2 R's and 2 L's.
So, and you pronounce it how?
Tyrrell.
Yeah,
Evan-
okay.
That's spelled EVAN.
Yeah, correct, yes.
And where does that come from?
So my dad has done extensive genealogy research for my family, and I've determined that I think I'm a blend of German, English, Irish, French, and a small tidbit of Polish, I believe, so. yeah,
Well,
just a little bit of-
there's a place down in Kirikou of Grenada called Tyrrell Bay. It's
Okay.
spelled just a little differently.
Hmm.
And I always thought it was British, but now that you've said everything but British, I don't know if that's the case, but
There may be
Tyrrell,
a
in fact, that's how
variety
they
of
pronounce
of
it,
descendants.
Tyrrell.
Yeah, my family's originally from Buffalo, New York. I was actually born and raised in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and received, I've earned 2 graduate degrees from Indiana University, both in public affairs and also in environmental science. But I want to kind of greet the council and mayor. I'm not sure of who are the city staff, but I believe the council is sitting towards the other end of the table. Thank you for the time this afternoon, and yeah, I'm very excited to be here and have the privilege to be Pam's successor for Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling. I do have a variety of experience in the industry. So, as you all know, we provide waste and recycling collection services amongst many other suite of services for Conwood Heights and many other communities throughout Salt Lake County. So previously and more recently, I served as the Solid Waste and Fleet Services Director for the city of Flagstaff in Arizona. And prior to that, as the Executive Director for the Solid Waste Special Service District in Moab, down in Grand County, actually. And so in both of those capacities, we provided the full gamut of solid waste management services. So we manage active landfills, recycling, processing, and distribution centers, in some cases, household hazardous waste facilities, and of course, the collection and hauling of both residential and commercial trash and recycling. So I've come with a variety of experience and definitely related to the industry for which Wasatch Front provides services. And the majority of my career has been in public service in a variety of other leadership capacities. I'm very excited and thankful for Pam and the Board of Trustees of Wasatch Front to really walk the walk with succession planning and give me the opportunity to not only meet with the council here, but to work with Pam leading up to her retirement towards the end of the month. And I'm actually currently living in Cottonwood Heights, which
Okay.
I've thoroughly enjoyed thus far. It's in a 6-month furnished unit while I seek permanent housing in the area. So Cottonwood Heights is certainly on the top of my list.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Happy to answer any questions as well. Thanks so much.
Yeah, so, well, first off, welcome.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. We appreciate this relationship that we have. Is there an issue that Pam and the board have prepared you for as a, top of line priority that you'll need to navigate carefully or work on? Is there anything that comes to mind?
That is a great question. And, I think there are definitely some challenges and opportunities. One is looking into our trailer and our seasonal container reservation program for bulk waste and recycling. But I think, the immediate is really getting an understanding of the operations, the financials, and the whole mechanism of the organization, but really seeking out cost savings opportunities in areas for improvements in our operational efficiencies to make sure that we can, sustain with our current rates for as long as possible and provide those services at the most reasonable rates possible.
What is the projection for, remind me, you don't use Transjordan, you use the Salt Lake landfill? Is that where you take our waste?
For Cottonwood Heights, I believe, yes. Transjordan we use for the southwest portion of Salt Lake County.
And when is the projection for the Salt Lake landfill to be full? And how will that affect our city once it fills and we need a intermediary station, or are you starting to study that? Or
That is a great question. As part of my onboarding, I'm learning about all of these facilities. We will be touring the Salt Lake County or Salt Lake Valley landfill and the transfer station, but I imagine Pam may have some insight on that question, which is a great one.
The last projections I've heard was over 60 years. What does that mean, over 60 years, especially with the population growth? So when we meet with Patrick Craig, who's the executive director for the solid waste or Salt Lake Valley solid waste facilities, then we'll get more on that particular piece. As far as the long range planning, I think that there is Transjordan at least has plans to truck because, well, let me just back up. Transjordan is set to close in 8 years. And they have opened a transfer station that's just to the west in Sandy City on 700 West and 8813.
I went to the pre-opening of it, so yeah, that
Okay,
was
good.
fascinating, yeah.
Good, and just so you know, they accept residential loads Monday through Saturday. And they also have the household hazardous waste facility right there, and it's really slick. It's very clean. You don't have to go all the way out to the landfill anymore for residential loads or for the HHW, which is really nice.
What was the address of that again?
8813 South and 700 West in Sandy City. Yeah.
So
Those-
that's available to any
any resident in the valley,
resident of the entire valley,
correct, that's my.
Murray, Cottonwood Heights.
The HW I've used, that's really nice. Just pull up and there's people come out and grab your stuff for you. So
What's
Very-
HHW stuff?
household hazardous waste, so paint
yeah.
and
Okay.
fuels and
That used to be
lithium
Murray.
ion batteries, things like that.
Yeah, please take lithium batteries there. We don't want them in the hands.
The city has passes or what do we call
The
them?
vouchers?
Vouchers. Did we do vouchers for this facility too?
Yeah, we do. So there is that option to still go to the Salt Lake Valley, but the transfer station over here is much closer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What
Yes,
are,
sir.
what are probably your top 2 issues with the trailer program?
Great question as well. I think one is our capacity to not only recruit but retain CDL drivers. It's my understanding Wasatch Front has gone a long way in building that capacity and looking at and providing for appropriate and competitive wages and benefits to recruit and retain as part of that. And so those programs are somewhat limited in our capacity to provide those services, especially for all of the other partner communities that we are servicing. And I believe Pam's kind of provided some pretty impressive numbers that we're able to kind of provide. I think it's like 56 or 60 containers per day.
Oh, that's scrap. Yeah.
Delivery, removal, et cetera. So quite a robust and well-used program. So I think that's one of the primary contributors to that particular challenge.
You looked at partnering with like Summit Community College and others that are training CDL drivers to be able to help provide some sort of training program so they could slip right in.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, we have our own apprentice program as well.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, we've reached out and tried recruiting from those schools
Mhm.
and haven't had a lot of luck there.
Mm.
But, we're hoping to beef that up a little bit for that seasonal program.
Okay.
Yeah, with the trailer rental, it's a little different. What Evan's referring to is we're looking at shifting resources from that trailer rental. One FTE, right now we have two FTEs that run that particular service. So the board would like us to shift resources over to the seasonal container program going into next year to allow more containers available. So this year we've provided an average of 60 containers every day throughout the district for every city that we serviced at that time. That window that we have. So the goal next year would be a minimum of 66 containers. Doesn't sound like a big jump, but if we can recruit more of those seasonal drivers, we will, and hopefully get into the 70s availability.
And your manager over there, he's wonderful. I mean, you can call him and
Sione,
yeah, he just knocks it out.
I know, he rocks.
Don't give him too much.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We stole him.
Yeah, they stole him from us.
Still bitter.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Oh, see how they are?
yeah, I'm still not happy. Hence the reason Pam and I don't talk anymore.
And I do want to give a shout out to Councilmember Holton. I know he's not here and he's on his way in, but he's been a great support. He comes to the table prepared and he has great questions. I just want to make sure I
In
get.
fact, you said that before you got here. You didn't need to hear that.
Don't tell him I said anything.
So Evan, I might have the most important question for you. So I imagine you consider yourself a Hoosier, is that right?
Yes, originally, that is
So
correct.
you're in a state now that has a red and blue rivalry. Have you chosen sides yet?
I have not.
Probably a very good answer.
In Indiana, it's IU, Purdue, we also have Notre Dame, and then Evan Tillis, many other competing.
You had a great
colleges.
football season last year. We'll see if it goes more than one
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
Well, good, okay. Well, thank you. Welcome, Pam. We appreciate it. We'll miss you and we're grateful for all your years of great service. So
Thank you.
in our relationship. So thanks, and we'll look forward to getting to know Evan better. So,
Likewise, thank you very much.
and I'm not even gonna try your last name.
Terrell.
Terrell.
It just takes.
Terrell.
Yeah, it was more than Terrell. It was,
Say it again.
Tyrrell.
yeah, see, you're not right.
Hey, none of y'all got it right.
Tyrrell.
Rhyme with something, I'd have some kind of way to remember that. Tyrrell.
What you told me.
Like you're crying,
Tier and
tear,
then roll, basically.
Tear roll.
Oh, thank you. See, yeah.
there we go,
Okay.
tear roll,
I could
tear
remember that.
roll.
But the more you think about it, the harder it is to pronounce.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Thank you
you.
very much. Nice meeting you all.
Thank you.
See you. Thank you. Lots of road trips.
Great, so we're gonna move on to our staff reports. So item A under staff report is our Cottonwood Canyon Cove Park naming discussion. As you know, we went through a process to kind of narrow it down, some of the amazing suggestions we got from some amazing residents. And so we went through a what do we call it? A contest, a procedure, some type of,
Survey,
we asked
vote.
survey, we asked people to tell us what were their favorites. And so we turn time over to Jared. He's gonna talk about that and we'll finalize a name for this new park.
Okay, so we let people vote until actually yesterday at 5 o'clock. We got over 200 votes and the ones highlighted are those that are either the same IP address or similar IP address, meaning they usually came from the same home. So.
Which doesn't mean there's
The
more
family,
people.
which if you look at your family, there are a few in here, somebody got really overzealous here. They obviously wanted Summer Hill, so what we did is we went through and totaled them up. If we totaled all of them, Summer Hill came out top with 102 votes. if we took out the duplicates, it still came out on top with 65 votes. So we wanted to kind of compare the two and see if we needed to go through and try to parse them out.
It
a
was
little bit.
fairly close, because Brighton Park with 58
Yeah.
to 60, or yeah, 58 to 65.
Yeah, sorry, that's kind of hard to see up there, huh? But, so the winner, if you want to call it that, is Summerhill Park. However, it's still the council's decision. This is to help you make that educated or that have the data to do that with. There were 24 other comments as well. A lot of the names that came up there were some that were submitted originally that didn't make the cut for the 3. So
What's the other in total?
that's the 24.
We allowed them to choose a.
We had another space for commenting, so you see Brighton Park Landing, Brighton Point Park, Sherwood Hills, Summerhill. I don't know why somebody wrote Summerhill, but New Heights Park. So those were the other ones in case, kind of like a write-in vote. It's the writing campaign, but so we had 24 comments as well. So I just wanted to provide the data for you, see how you wanted to progress from here, have the discussion, and then we can move forward with whatever you decide.
I think the people have spoken. And look at the numbers, right? That's what we asked for.
Yeah, no, I think that was what we told everybody.
And this was pushed out on social media, in the newsletter and in the journal in different places. And I saw it pop up in other places too. So it's kind of saw it pop up in some different news articles who latched onto it. So it's kind of interesting to see it come up. I think on KSL News Radio one morning. So it got a lot of airtime, I guess.
Yeah. So let's have a quick discussion, council. It's, I mean, I know Councilmember Newell said today, the residents have spoken, and that's is that how we all feel, and then we are ready to move on with it. That's
Well, Mr. Jim Peters will be disappointed. He wanted Brighton Point.
yeah,
There's always people disappointed. How can you get around that? I am kind of surprised,
I'm
because I
surprised
kind
too.
of thought it would end up Dover
Yeah.
Hills only because of the
I did too.
input, but.
that was the lowest.
But Summer Hills is technically where it'll bring you to the main opening to the park.
Right.
So in a way, we may be thankful as the years go by that people will be looking for Summer Hills to turn in, and then they'll arrive, you know, again, where the largest opening to the park is. So it may serve the community well, although we know that most people, we believe, will be coming from the immediate area, but yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Anything you want to add?
No, it's not Dover Hill, so yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter, but you know, I don't mean to make it sound like that, but between the two, I don't think that's consequential one way or the other. Go with the people.
Yeah, okay. I will just add that, our, one of our head of our art committee, Scott Peters, has been really involved. They're literally, you know, moving dirt and getting and planting and getting ready to, you know, do the last final stages of the park right now. And, Scott Peters has come in and worked with Ivory, and they've been really good about, hey, we kind of felt like there's needed to be more trees here, less here, and anyway, so they've done that process, and so anyway, I think the landscaping plan is 100% done, and Ivory's working on it now, and it should be done. Do we have the date yet?
I think the end of the month, they were laying, when we were out there last week, they were putting topsoil in and moving some rocks around, and all the irrigation was put in this spring, so it's really just a matter of getting that topsoil down and then planting the trees and the sod and the shrubs, and should start looking pretty good.
Hopefully we'll get a ribbon cutting on the docket sooner than later.
Yeah, now we have a name.
There's a 1-year warranty on the plants, the sod, the grass
Yes.
growing, the trees.
Yes. So we won't go in and put anything new in or do any changes until that one
Wait
year's
for
up.
the 1 year. Okay.
Yeah. And we could start on the marketing of Summerhill.
Yep,
Well, I know the main thing that I heard was the desire to have trees that will provide shade.
That was some of the changes.
Yeah, so I'd love to do a little walkthrough. Maybe I can do that with
yeah,
you and Matt or whomever. It'd be great. That's exciting.
Great.
and then after a year, we can kind of look at it and see if there's lacking another. There was a desire to put some trees in the big open grass area, but there isn't water for trees over there, so we had to move them, so they were kind of covering the path in other areas. it would have been a lot more expensive to bring the irrigation over to that area now. With the paths in and everything, so it was a little. But Ivory was good to work with us and say, yeah, we can put them over here instead, or.
Yeah, but you want them to be on the west side, that's how you provide the shade, right? So
Right,
wasn't that in the original plan to,
no, actually, the original didn't have them in that spot. So we were looking at them to try to put some in there, but the irrigation was troublesome in that area for now.
I think we added 3 new ones, right?
5
5 new ones, okay,
new trees.
from what was the last plan, great. Okay, any other thoughts? We will move on to item B under staff reports, which is a general plan update. So I know we've all were emailed the update that Jim had been working on with our consultant. I think our consultant is here. Is that right, Jim?
Yes, so Sam Taylor is here with Landmark Design. We'll invite him up to the table and we'll. It's by Barbara, maybe. He's been the lead on this project. He's done a really great job, so I'll turn it over to him.
Oh, the clicker.
Sorry, tell us your name again. And
I'm Sam Taylor,
Sam Taylor. Okay.
Landmark Design.
Okay.
And yeah, also working with obviously other members on our planning team and the city staff here to make this happen
And this was presented to the planning commission and
at their last
at
meeting.
their last meeting.
Yes,
Yeah, the second.
correct. Yes. And so yeah, and this is the same presentation that we made to the planning commission, so that's why it says planning commission up there. But I think with any technical planning document, it has a tendency to be scary, so we wanted to just take the opportunity to orient you to the plan. Take some of your initial questions, feedback, and so on. So to give you a first thought, hang on, no, that's not working. There we go. Okay. So just to put up here the bullets on the schedule, we wanted to kind of just front load this to say this is not your one and only shot to look at this, and this is very much a draft as well. So so you certainly have the opportunity to comment and weigh in on this during this period of time. So we are anticipating putting the draft out in front of the public for their feedback in October. And then
when in October?
so the first week of October, we plan to launch an online participation. So people will be able to review the plan and we'll have some targeted questions for them.
Well, since this is our first time to be introduced to the timeline, I didn't know it was already set.
That was our intention, but
So it looks like is it just the news published in our newsletter?
Yeah, so there will be an article in the newsletter, just letting people know that this project is underway, and it's been underway for about 4 or 5 years now. So this is a kind of a reboot of the project. So this is a schedule that we had outlined just to get us to an adoption before the end of the year, but we can certainly adjust it and make changes to it.
Well, we really haven't convened in regard to general plan now in over 3 years, so. I'm just surprised that it's, I mean, I know there's the intention to do something by the end of the year, but I think that if the council needs time to deliberate and, this is, for Councilmember Highland and Councilmember Holton, they have not deliberated in any way, shape or form on this general plan. It really came to us predominantly from the previous administration, although there was an open house in the first half a year when the mayor and Councilman Newell and I took office. So I want to make sure that we are emphasizing and prioritizing the things that, as I can understand it, the residents are interested in.
We've got it as a discussion item, I think, on the next 3 council meetings. So we and I think we've budgeted an hour. We can probably even go over that today. So it's just a starting point. And like I think they said, this is just so anyway. So I think we're gonna have a lot of time. And if we don't have enough time, Councilmember Burrell we'll push it.
Well,
So-
I, I mean, I just think to present it to the public is to,
And maybe we hold
What
off.
are we
on the-
presenting? Are we presenting this draft or we're gonna incorporate comments that we might have in the next 10 days?
We do have that opportunity to update your comments or update it with your comments over the next couple weeks. But if you feel that it's not ready for that kind of release, then you can certainly take your time. So
And so the planning commission isn't gonna talk about it again either until,
It's on their next few agendas as well. So they'll talk about it at the next meeting and then a joint session with you all October 21st, and then again in November. So we're not trying to rush people through the process, but we just want to have a definitive schedule that we can work towards, but we can certainly adjust that as needed to make sure everyone's comfortable with, because it is a lot of information and Sam's going to go through
well, I
that.
don't derail it too much. I did watch the planning commission meeting after the fact on YouTube. I'm about halfway through, but one of the commissioners said rightly so that this has to dovetail with all the other master plans. And so for me to assimilate and go through all those master plans and say, does it feed into this? Is a little bit time consuming. And so I appreciate the flexibility on schedule. I'm doing as much due diligence as I possibly can. It's very complex.
The direction was to try to get it adopted by the end of the year. It's up to you if we push that or if we're flexible on that. It's just, it's been going for so
It's
long.
very high level and aspirational, so it's not as technical as some of the master plans. So-
I don't want it to last another 4 or 5 years.
No. I agree. Okay, sorry. We rarely already.
no,
Oh, wait, go back.
fine.
What are the other, so.
Yeah.
So November 5th would be a
Planning commission.
planning commission meeting.
This is assuming everything goes smoothly.
Right.
But yeah, it's very much a loose framework that we had intended to.
So
Yeah,
multiple
flexible.
planning commission meetings and council member discussions, and you've put it out there in a form that can be commented on by everyone. You want to tell the council about that?
The online PDF.
Yes.
Yeah, so we were requested by the planning commission to provide a copy where they could all jointly comment on, so we have that online capability now for everyone to leave their comments. We circulated that around.
Yeah, so I sent that to everybody, I believe yesterday. There was a link to that document online, so anybody can go in there. Well, anyone with the link. So I only shared it with this group and the planning commission, PTOS committee. So there you can collaborate and you can view what other people have commented on and leave whatever input you have.
yeah, I mean, I think I would feel differently about this if this draft had been put in front of me 6 months ago or something, but this was, given to me maybe a week ago. And I appreciate that this is a compilation of several surveys, but again, historically, 3.5 years ago, there were as I could understand it, the council majority felt that the CH Tomorrow survey on which this is based was not scientifically derived. And then we went on to do a Y2 analytics survey. And so, I want to make sure that we don't put something out into the public that conveys perhaps, a direction, a prioritization and a direction that is not held by this current council. Because again, from what I can understand, it was predominantly set by the previous administration. And so I want to make sure we, don't put the cart before the horse, and that's where I'm coming from. I've been wading through it. I think there's some core concepts that I'm interested in a discussion on, and so I don't mean to step on the toes of this presentation, but I just felt a need to interject that I think it's beyond just a few little questions here and there. I think we got to make sure that the forthcoming zoning and the things that we plan for land use are really going to align with what we want to accomplish. City.
Absolutely fair. Okay. That slide just kind of getting ahead of ourselves in some ways, but so I'll kind of just back up. Just is a very high level discussion or just point on why a new general plan Your current general plan was adopted in 2005 with your incorporation. You've updated a few times since, minor things along the way, but it's more or less you've achieved most of the items that were identified in that plan. And so this update's really there to address your current opportunities and challenges, centering around the high level issues concerning quality of life, growth and development, housing, traffic, etc. The process, as council member has mentioned, we began in 2020 on this and had a draft plan back in 2022 that was presented to the public at an open house. There were a number of public comments received at that time that felt that sort of pointed at some of the directions that draft was going were perhaps off or too detailed. And so staff decided to conduct some additional review in-house and try and figure out where they wanted to take it at that time. But I think the form-based code sort of rose as a priority item for staff over the next couple of years. And so it wasn't until late 2024 that this ever sort of picked up and rebooted itself. And so this is kind of the result of the discussions that we've had with staff throughout the year and their adjustments to the draft code plan. Just a snapshot of what the document looks like, if you haven't had a chance to get through all of it. First off, I'll just speak briefly to the role of the general plan. It's intended to be an advisory guide, so it's not prescribing regulations or requirements, but can make recommendations towards that end. So that's kind of the idea here is it's intended to sort of direct you towards different policies and implementation items that you might want to work towards over the next decade. But one key aspect under state law is that public infrastructure does need to be kind of accounted for and identified in the plan.
Just real quick, Sam, and with Shane right there, our city attorney's next to you, but just because something is in the general plan doesn't mean legally if a request comes in that we have to, as a council, follow that. Correct? Is there, anyway.
Yeah, the general plan's a forward-looking document, and so we do our best to determine what will be needed during the life of the general plan, but that doesn't mean that everything has to be done on day one.
Yeah, and frequently general plans are not every item is achieved. It is a guide for the day. So
what you're saying is it can't be done unless it's in the general plan, but just because it's in the general plan doesn't mean it has to be done.
So public infrastructure in particular, so there are roads and things that if say you wanted to construct a new road, that project would need to be identified as something that you want to address. But things regarding land use issues and stuff, it's really just a general advisory guide, and there's nothing in there that says you have to adopt this zone or anything like that. So
Thank you.
Mayor, if I could just add to that. So I think the general plan is especially important for the planning staff because we use this document as a guide to filter out requests and applications that would then come to the council. So if someone were to approach staff and say, hey, I want to create this development in this area, the first place they go is this plan to say, okay, well, is this the vision for the city? If it's completely in left field, we say, well, probably not, because that's not really the vision that we've established here. If they can, argue a good case for it, we could bring it back to the planning commission and council to amend the general plan that would ultimately then result in a rezone or whatever the council decides. But it's certainly not mandatory that we follow the plan, but it's a good filter for the staff to use to bring proposals to you in the future. So
Great.
Thank you.
Great feedback or great context.
There are some required sections within Utah code that your general plan must have, and that's land use, housing, transportation, and a new element, which is water use and preservation. So, and we'll get into that a little bit more. So here's the list of all the chapters that we have in the general plan. You'll see that there's a couple of extra ones in there that are intended to sort of supplement the others and sort of tie loose ends together and create links between different ideas and departments that might consult this as a resource. But the 4 and blue are the ones that are just the key 4 elements that do, and some of those, such as housing and water use, have some very specific requirements from the state legislature on what those should address. Each of the chapters, it sort of takes a general framework of outlining the current conditions that the city is in on that topic, and describing the desired future condition, and then concluding with a list of action items and policies to move towards that future vision. So chapter 1 is an overview and introduction. It touches on the history of the city, purpose of the general plan, your demographic snapshot, what you're anticipated in terms of population growth. The documents the community engagement process that's been used to date, and then sort of concludes with a community summary of the community vision and future goals based on that input. Chapter 2, the land use chapter, it designates the future land use vision through a future land use map for areas where housing, jobs, recreation, public facilities, and open space might occur, and kind of creates some general, very high level standards around that, and priorities for achieving, your future growth and development, where you want to head. So the land use chapter, as I mentioned, has a future land use map. Honestly, the majority of your existing land use is anticipated to remain, and the focus of this land use chapter is really on the areas in sort of the reddish colors. Very difficult to see on the screens, I apologize for that. The reddish and pinkish colors are your centers. So namely being your town center, the Union Park and gravel pit areas. They're all established by your master plans that you have for those areas. A third element is a future look towards some neighborhood level planning and establishing some area master plans in the future to kind of guide the direction of smaller scale neighborhood centers and other improvements within your neighborhoods. And then also just development along their transportation corridors. This is the dovetail into things like the Wasatch Boulevard Master Plan. Chapter 3, the moderate income housing plan, is what you adopted earlier this year. So there's been no changes whatsoever to that since it was adopted. So that addresses your future housing needs. It meets the requirements of the state, includes 5 strategies to meet their affordability targets. Chapter 4 is the transportation element. And so this looks at your existing transportation system. Your different sort of direction on this chapter than the previous draft. The previous draft, I think some concern was sort of voiced by the public that everything seemed to be pointing towards active transportation everywhere all at once, and how are we going to get around this town in a car? So sort of backed up on that, tried to balance that approach. So the element as it currently reads prioritizes managing your both local and regional traffic, and doing so in an environment that is safe both for the automobile and the pedestrian, and conveying that traffic through your community, and then still does have add on those layers of active transportation and transit as part of a balanced whole network. So Chapter 5 takes a quick economic snapshot of your city and looks at just opportunities to strengthen where you can strengthen your economic portfolio, and that ties very closely with the land use. And the focal point there is your activity centers that I discussed earlier in the land use chapter. Chapter 6 looks at your parks, trail, and recreation network, and really is just a very high level snapshot that ties into the goals of the 2021 Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So it's really pointing towards that as the governing document. But ties that master plan back to land use certification. And so you can see there's a high level assessment of what's on the ground today existing, but also where future facilities might be proposed. Chapter 7 is that water use preservation element that I mentioned, and is a new one from the state. It's chapter 6. I don't know why the slide says chapter 7. But essentially the bullets here are the items that the state is looking for this chapter to do. So one, exploring the effective permitted development or development patterns on water demand and water infrastructure. 2, exploring the methods of reducing water demand and the per capita water use for both your existing and your future development. And 3, recommending modifications that can be made to your local government's operations to reduce and eliminate wasteful water practices. So with that, it's a bit of a tricky element for your community because you are not a water provider. Whereas many communities are, and I think the state has kind of blanketed this in that way. So the great vast majority of your community is served by Salt Lake City Public Utilities. And so in some ways, this chapter is deferring to their assumptions and.
This is a great slide that I've not seen before. I know you don't like me to stand up, to still have
No,
that
you're good.
little.
Yeah,
that
want the
little
clicker?
Clicker.
Or no.
I mean, I'm happy to
No,
see
he's looking
But
for,
here's.
Right here.
that's on the, that's, no,
Yeah, so my question is this.
Oh, and that's
that's,
not the,
you need this, not that.
Oh, okay, I didn't think,
No, sorry.
We have a pointer, yeah.
We have a pointer now. We're very
the
fancy
top
now.
button.
Thank you. So my question is this. Since I'm pretty sure this is the border of Cottonwood Heights, so when it comes to the Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District, only this big little portion right here, I
Yes.
believe is Cottonwood Heights right there,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Right, like right there.
Yeah, pretty much.
So otherwise, it would be fair to say that, 99%, 95%,
Yeah,
some big percentage is all really the Salt Lake, City Department of Public Utilities. Is that
That's
accurate?
correct, yeah, yeah, and
Thank
we're
you.
really leaning on Salt Lake City Public Utilities. Their assumptions for their water system and what they feel their system is capable of handling for the sort of future look. And unfortunately, they don't have data parsed out specifically for your community. It's more like they're looking at the larger system of all the communities they serve. So they feel they have adequate water supply to support future demand and development within their service area. So that's kind of the recommendation of the plan is to kind of look on that. And look at and more focus on the things that you as a city can control, which is landscape ordinances and other sort of educational outreach sort of measures that you can encourage your residents to conserve water. Whereas you are not a water provider, you can't necessarily come to Salt Lake Public Utilities and say, well, we need this change in the infrastructure. They're kind of the ones in charge of that system. Does that make sense?
You said the state now requires this to be in the general plan.
That's correct. Yeah. So,
Our newly annexed areas are in Jordan Valley Water District.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
and all this is, tied back to the sort of relationship that everyone has with the Great Salt Lake. And so I think the intention here for the state is that each community is identifying ways in which they can prove that relationship, help water to make its way back to the lake. So. The final chapter is the sustainability chapter, and this dovetails with your interlocal sustainability action plan, as well as the sustainability master plan. And so really pulling elements from those for various ways that you can, as a community, support the environment, also improve your economic and social standing in providing sort of sustainable principles that are large for the community. So that's a quick overview and snapshot. Jim, is there anything else you want to add about the draft or?
No, I think you did a great job, and it's just remembering that it is a draft, so nothing's been finalized, and there's, really why we're here is to introduce this group to the document and to start collecting feedback, because we are aware that a lot of you haven't been involved in the process from the prior administration. So, this is really the time that we want to start getting feedback. So this was delivered to us late this summer, so in August. So it is new. We haven't been sitting on this draft for years. So this is an updated iteration of this document that we're anxious to get feedback on. So
Sounds like based on some comments that came from the last time we invited the public out, right?
Yeah, I touched on the transportation bit. I think the other bit that this draft had gotten quite a bit of feedback on was the approach to housing and population growth. That it was sort of taking the approach of, you're anticipated to grow by this many people, where are you going to put them? And there are all these sort of options of slotting people into the community in various places. And I think that was kind of, I don't think that was the right approach to take. I think it freaked people out. So sort of backed off that, and the land use chapter now is really kind of focused on, your town center and these other, the gravel pit and these other areas that you've already established master plans for. That's the focal point of development moving forward as a community for you. And whether or not those areas, accommodate the quoted, population increase. Not necessarily linked directly in that way, so.
For those growth forecasts based on the WFRC
WFRC, yes.
assumptions, okay. Fascinating.
Well, if I mentioned, I've only really been able to digest about half of it. Definitely see it's a very aspirational document. I see a lot of boilerplate language that I will probably challenge a little bit. Appreciate that it's, really looking at our city and what fits in our city. Some really, really high level comments. I'd really like it to acknowledge the visitor economy that we can take advantage of, because what's changed from even back when people started to, talk about this 2020. I mean, obviously with the Icon Pass, it has just exploded in the number of people who are coming through our city. So that's a top level. Talk about our mountain suburban lifestyle. That was actually a term that was in the original general plan that I found. So I'd like that repeated. Another, I know this is a little bit, this is something that the council needs to decide, is it is talking about form-based code. We haven't passed form-based code. There's not a consensus on passing form-based code. And so I wonder if we could just talk about amending zoning and ordinances to meet these goals rather than actually including form-based code as something that we have to do in this document. Those are just.
We can definitely amend that language. I think, I see form-based code as the vehicle towards the means, and or means towards an end. And so if the end is, altered zoning, whether you use form-based code or a different route,
I think that's kind of what we've been wrestling with are there tools that are not form-based code that can still get us to the objectives that we're in this document? I mean, when I say boilerplate, I mean, it's talking about making room for carpool lanes. I can't think of anywhere in this city we have room for a carpool lane. So those are the kinds of things they'll go through and question. I know you're probably gonna clean up all the edits, but as an editor, there's a lot of things in there that needs to be addressed.
We recognize this is a first step.
Do we want to have a discussion about all of the different items that are now in this document versus what are required if we do, as a council, want to have them all included? We move that way, maybe. So if you maybe go to the slide that shows all of the different headers. Or. There we go. Yep. So obviously land use, moderate income housing, transportation, water use are required by the state to be included in our general plan. economic development, recreation and sustainability, do we feel as though those are? I went through real at a high level at what was put in there into the plan, but what are your thoughts on those three?
Well, economic development, with our H project is gonna be a big consideration. But we don't wanna forget sustainability. How do we sustain the community that we're trying to form? And these are all elements of that sustainability, and putting them in the right place and having the right timing and everything is gonna be critical. I like so far what I'm seeing because I know that there's flexibility built into the plan. And for me, that gives me a level of comfort knowing that if something comes up or things change, we have that ability to be able to react and to be able to implement whatever mechanism we need, be it zones or a code or anything, to be able to make this document a livable document that's actually live, that we can actually move through and adjust and create as we see fit.
Sam, were these pretty consistent with what other cities are doing?
Yeah.
You know, okay,
Generally speaking, yeah.
generally,
Yeah, I think cities, some have a sustainability element, some don't. But I think
Give me-
you've gone a long way in. promoting
give me an idea of
sustainability.
what they're doing with recreation, just, is that all open space,
Well, no, it looks at parks and
parks?
open space and trails typically, and each community has a slightly different spin on how they approach that. Some rely on the element as serving as their parks and recreation master plan. And others are kind of using it as just sort of a point to the more detailed master plan, you know. I think in general, what this draft did a little differently than the previous one is that staff was concerned that including too many specifics within this general plan from the various master plans that are adopted led to its potential to kind of become out of date or misaligned should they update another, one of the other documents. And so
That's the flexibility.
Yeah.
We don't have a current master plan for economic development, do we? Is that something maybe we should work
I'm
on?
not aware of one.
So there was an economic development strategy, I think it was 20. In the last 5 years, one's been adopted. They're in the draft. I don't want to pull it up because I'll lose this slide, but in the draft, there's a page that includes all of the different plans and master plans that have been adopted and since this plan started. And there were, I think there's probably 15 plans referenced in there of master plans, studies,
It
other
wasn't
things.
the economic development addressed in the initial general plan as a chapter within the initial. But I have them all printed,
Mhm.
and to my knowledge, there's not an adopted master plan solely on economic
Yeah, I
development. I'm almost certain. I'd be interested what you're referring
Yeah,
to.
it's referenced in the document. I think it's in Lions chapter. I can try to pull it up. Let me see if I can find it.
When you put this document together, Sam, your staff, you reviewed all of these other master plans to inform this general plan,
Yes, that's.
so that there's not a conflict between the two.
Yeah, that's what our intention is.
Did you use AI?
No.
Just curious, because I would have. At least
It
check and
makes it
balance.
tedious, yeah, it makes it tedious, and we went back and forth with staff quite a few times to try and make sure we were hitting the important points that needed to be addressed here, so.
So this is that page that shows all of the previous efforts. Let me zoom in here. That's pretty small. Oops.
So the transportation.
So there's a Cottonwood Heights Economic Resiliency Plan.
Well, that's when, that would have been, we would have voted that
Yeah.
in. I don't, that's, I mean, I'm sorry, but that I don't remember. I mean, you'd have to show me that, Jim.
Yeah, and I'm new to all this stuff too, so I'm not familiar with all of these, but there were several planning efforts happening concurrently with this general plan update when it kicked off. So, and I think that was maybe part of the challenge is there were so many moving parts that it was hard to capture what 20 different plans were illustrating. So in this general plan, this is from the general plan, it says, we obviously want to pay homage and respect these plans, but the general plan is just that. It's a very conceptual, comprehensive vision for the entire city. all of these studies and plans would be much more specific and targeted to certain topics or areas or ideas.
Well, I think that resolution adopting principles and policies for the establishment of the future boundary between Cottonwood Heights and Sandy is 2014. I also, that was one of my questions, 6.23 square miles. I thought we were 9 something square miles. So there's some inaccuracies that
Okay.
I'm
Yeah, we
questioning
are,
too.
we're
Oh,
like 9.2,
We can double check that.
9.3.
So I think overall, especially what's been helpful to me already is that now I can actually read this in an even different light because if you're talking about staying so high level and the detail is really in these other master plans, that's a different framework for me to digest this draft than I was thinking previously.
So tell me what other cities have done. So as I think kind of what Councilmember Burrell said in the beginning, you know, what is the process that other cities have gone through when they've made updates? So as they brought you on and you've consulted, so and because we're making this a little more broad, I guess is the goal. Should we be studying the individual master plans first, or do we not make that a focus of this general plan? Does that make sense? I know it has to, there has to be, you know, structure.
I feel like I have to at least go look at the goals of all of these master plans and what
Yeah.
they set out. I'm not gonna be able to digest.
What's the best way for us to
hundreds
go
of
about
pages of
where we
documents.
want to get? If you can help with that.
I think it's such a high level this document is trying to work at. I think the first thing to kind of drill down on is the big idea that's reflected in the beach capital representative of what you understand for your community and what you understand your constituents want for your community.
So not to cut you off, but so if we then took, for example, in our next meeting, 2 or 3 items and identified what those key, you know, what did you, I can't remember what you call them, but those key items that we want to make sure have a consensus on, is that kind of a good way to start?
I think so. I mean, you know, for instance, land use, you know, the big idea there is to focus on your town center and your other, you know, activity centers in your commercial areas and along your main corridors. If that is something, if that encapsulates kind of the vision that you have for the future growth of the community regarding land use, you know, that and we all are in agreement on it, that's great. Then we can say, okay, based on that vision, you know, are the goals of those master plans to support those activity centers then represented here? And I think they are. We've gone through quite a bit of effort to try and make sure that they are generally reflected here. So
to give you an idea, my thought process is that I had envisioned us looking at what currently existed in our current general plan, land use designations around most of the possibilities for redevelopment, and then us talking about, is that what we think exists? Even though I think you're on the right path, but I think for example, the town center, for me, we know it's, you know, we've been working on that for a long time, so we kind of know. So land use for me, I think and correct me if you feel differently, but I feel like looking at what we currently have designated in our general plan for land use areas, is that correct, or do we need to make changes? And so that was my thought process. Tell me what you guys think. Is that different than what you thought?
I believe I'm definitely following where you're taking this, and I agree that as a council, we've never really looked at these core areas. Let me give you an example. There is roughly 150 acres of undeveloped land, and that would be the gravel pit at the mouth of Big Cottonwood Canyon. Well, currently, as I can understand it, the land use is projecting that based on it being such a huge and, you know, an enormous space, that our city wants to see that become, you know, some real high density, some towers, as much as 28-story high buildings. This is not something this administration, dating back to Newell Wickers Burrell, or certainly our two new council members. We've never talked about that. Is that still what we see as the way forward? You know, we can't dictate necessarily what a landowner can do with his property, but on the other hand, the implications of an already challenging situation where our city is a drive-through place. And I mean, you often refer to capturing the visitor economy and that sort of thing. So I'm just gonna, while I'm mentioning this and piggybacking on your assertion, which I agree with, is, you know, one of the first things I did 3.5 years ago was advocate for form-based code. And it's because I want to see the local residents be able to be part of saying, do we want transect areas? Like, do we want things to develop in a way that allows for a little Main Street area in the center of Cottonwood Heights along Fort Union Boulevard, you know, let's say between Hillside Plaza and Whitmore Library? Is that how we want, you know, our city to remain, you know, feeling more and more, well, not rural, but suburban as it, you know, and then more concentrated with greater walkability, which I have to actually also mention that you would have to show me the surveys that say that our residents don't want transportation alternatives. You said they don't want active transportation, but active transportation is basically synonymous with transportation alternatives, which has consistently come out in every survey that we've had, that they're interested in transportation alternatives. So anyways, I would like to have some of those base level discussions to understand where this administration is focused, what the priorities are on basic land use and some of these.
Land use is obviously a pretty big one. Maybe we tackle that first. And the council could spend our own time making sure, looking at what's the current designations are in all the areas, and then let's come back maybe in our next meeting and have a discussion. We'd love for you to be here too, and talk about what we think is the best. I mean, what we think should happen in you know, and maybe we could even designate key areas that we're talking about. Obviously, the gravel pit, Fort Union Boulevard, the Union Park Center, the CDRA for Hillside. Does that sound like a good
Yeah, I
place?
could dovetail on what we've already started, but we pulled back on base code to say, let's start small. And so it could still be that the council agrees that, okay, we're gonna do form-based code in this town center area, but we're not gonna apply it everywhere. Could be part of that discussion. If you go back to the chapters, we don't need to talk about moderate income housing, although I'm just gonna warn you, the legislature is on a kick again, and it's gonna be MIH or MIHP 2.0. It's gonna be completely different, so that'll be amended. But if it seems like land use, transportation, and economic development are gonna be the three big ones. Water use and preservation, of course, we can read it. We don't have a ton of control of that, as you've already said. Recreation and sustainability I haven't been through, but I think we probably need to have time in the next 3 council meetings.
Sam, how does that, and I agree, what is this getting too much detail, or are we on a wrong path in your mind at all?
I don't think there's a wrong path.
Okay.
So it's whatever you feel you need to do to kind of come to a consensus.
Yeah, I would just recommend staying high level because this is a high level
Yeah.
plan. So let's not
Okay.
try to get into the details of planning individual areas, but is this the right fit for the land use? Is this the right transportation use? Is this? We're not getting into the details because this is the overarching theme for the city. So let's make sure we don't
Right, and you
try to
just
set densities and everything here. Just
right.
are these the right land uses for these areas?
Yeah, and you know, just like this map shows, it's pretty general in how it's described. So for example, the gravel pit area is designated as regional center. And it's very typical that in a general plan like this, there would be a narrative explaining what is a regional center. It doesn't have specific concept plans or development plans. It just says it's a place that has pretty intense development where people from the region would go for XYZ activities. So it's not sorting out the details of how it develops, but generally the vision of what do we want there at some point. And then after this is adopted, you know, the planning staff's job is going to be, okay, well, now we need to implement this plan. So at that point, we'll reassess and say, you know, is form-based code the best tool to make this vision come to life? Maybe it is, maybe it's not.
Can it be just one of the tools?
Right, yeah, and there are several ways to get from point A to point B, but this plan just really says, where do we even want to get to? And then our job over the next 5-10 years is gonna be, you know, adopting codes and creating programs and projects to actually implement what this says. So it is fairly high level, but it's still very important because without this, we don't know as a staff of what to do to get to the vision if we're not sure what the vision is. So keeping it high level is most helpful. I
What
think, at this
documents
point.
did you pull from for land use? Because we don't have a land use master plan, is that,
So we did reference the master plans for the areas,
The
small
area-
area plans.
okay,
And then we did do we have a existing land use map and that translated to the future land use map. So we have data on what's on the ground today and that's pretty well reflected.
Well, maybe a good example of that is in 2005, the vision was to actually have the city hall on Fort Union. And now it's Bengal Boulevard. And so one of the things I actually like about this new plan is it says you should consider a Bengal Boulevard master plan. And so those are high level aspirational, good goals for us to think about. So it's not the details, but it's like, yeah, this is going to be an important street. You've talked about an arts district that would be worthy of quick discussion.
Mhm.
So I will look at this with fresh eyes and make some comments and ignore the editing as that's just part of my nature.
No,
Yeah.
editing's good. Editing is great. We
No,
love it.
I'm not,
So-
no, there's no, well, that's what we pay you for, to be consistent with your Oxford comments. But I think that now I can go through this and definitely before the next council meeting. I can give a lot of comments in the shared document, and then I think we should just decide how many of those chapters we want to tackle in the next meeting.
so if we could rely on staff to formulate
Mhm.
a land use type discussion of from what you've heard from us, that would be awesome. I think that'd be a great next meeting. Yeah,
Does that tie in, I mean, it should tie into economic development as well.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
right.
I
It
think
overlaps a lot, yeah.
It's very synonymous
maybe
sort of.
adjoining conversations.
And in some ways housing as well. I mean, your housing strategies are sort of built on a land use vision of some sort. Right, so.
We are in a pickle. I just had a good friend just purchase a vacant lot here in Cottonwood Heights and our land is $1 million an acre for a residence.
Oh, yeah, that's expensive.
A commercial property of half an acre was 1.5 million. So we are in a serious pickle. And so when even in the document, we should ensure, affordable housing. Of course I would love to. It's how in the world can I do that? I can't ensure it. I could aspire to it. I could support it. We don't have the budget to actually subsidize building when we have a $27 million annual budget. We can't subsidize affordable housing.
I think our current our income housing plan highlights 5 different areas that we can try, and so I
It
think,
does, but one of the goals in here says ensure.
Yeah.
This is affordable housing and I would love to. I just don't know that you can ensure
maybe we
it.
change.
Yeah, that might be the wrong word choice.
Yeah.
I'll agree with you, the housing argument is, there is no easy solution to the situation. I think the state's intention with the element is just to get communities moving somewhere slowly, baby steps, maybe to get collectively will increase the supply and availability of housing to people. I don't know but it's hard because it's a collective effort. Some communities are really digging their heels on it, so. It's probably where the 2.0 plans that the legislature is cooking up right now.
I ask one more question. I know we're probably out of time, but I'd like to ask Matt Ship.
Yes,
One of the things in here it says is that we should create a comprehensive streetscape design for complete streets that enhances the pedestrian experience with amenities. Do we already have a streetscape design manual?
We have the adopted transportation master plan that has a streetscape. Basically the road lanes, widths, medians and park strips, if that's what we're talking about. Is that?
Yeah, and I think our transportation consultants may be envisioning a bit more detail. to kind of
I think
guide
we
the
don't.
streetscape
No,
development.
we have it in an ordinance that we are to have treed treat park strips and,
Yes, we have that, but it's, as far as the detail, the master plan, the transportation master plan really lays out the right of way. And gives a general idea of what the side dressings are based on the use of the road. So trails, park strips, side route widths, as well as lane widths and things of that nature.
Okay.
But the transportation master plan is not gonna drill down into trees and things of that nature, furnishings and things, which is, I think, is what they're
That's the
making
intention.
reference to.
Yeah, and I think just based on the language, it's probably more referring to a community identity for branding.
Right.
There's a lot of places where, park strips are xeriscapes, others are grass, others are, so I think having a more collective cohesive vision for, what do the streets in Cottonwood Heights look like? When you're here, do you know you're here?
That would be.
Yeah.
it's in the general plan.
Is
Is it?
The
Already? So we don't
2005
have to create it,
general
it's already
plan.
there.
Well, it would be here in this one now, because the 2005.
I haven't
would be
gotten to that
replaced
part, but-
by-
No, but it says create a comprehensive, I'm wondering if the verb is accurate. Is it reference a comprehensive streetscape design, or do we actually need to create? Because we don't
It's
have
probably
it.
a more detailed design
Creating
with dimensions and materials and colors, palettes of things like that. So informing the branding or identity of the community.
It's your branding toolbox.
So should the focus of what we're trying to do include detail on streetscape, or should that be after we pass the general plan and then focus on individual plans?
Yeah, I think this document would identify that we want to have some type of identity, not necessarily defining what that is, but saying that that's a goal of the community is to have
So
that.
talking about the streetscapes in a broad sense is just
Mhm.
something that then we can focus on in a master plan.
Right.
And that helps.
Yeah, if the intention is to, enhance your branding, where all that pass through traffic, and also create a comfortable pedestrian environment. So that, we have a bit more of a balanced approach between multiple transportation modes. In that street corridor, the streetscape standards could help achieve some of those goals. And
That's your
so-
street lights, things of that nature, things that brand us as Cottonwood Heights.
Unifying the entrances to our city.
Right,
because
the definition of your entrances, what your medians look like, types of trees that go in those.
The general plan shouldn't identify all that. It should just sort of say, this is something we'd like to work towards, and then staff will then use that as a cue
Create
to create something with it.
Like, I think the general plan should acknowledge the things that have occurred over these last 20 years, some of which has been that we are now a tree city. We have tools in our toolbox that we didn't have even a couple, 3-4 years ago, and so. One of the things I found missing, and again, I haven't been through the whole thing, but. I'd like to see our city really make a priority, the O&M, the operations and maintenance of what we already have. This is very acquisition oriented and in my opinion, and the missing piece for me is, and it relates to sustainability and resiliency, is to make it one of our top priorities to take care of what we've got, basically. Like for me, that's a real primary element.
It's great.
I'd like to, sorry to add one more thing, just going back through it. When we start the discussion, which I think we should start with the community goals, and that's the very highest level before we then dive into the land use and transportation. So let's start there and then also talk about the individual chapters, because that's probably where we need to agree most, is the big picture goals at the very beginning of the document.
That's good point, actually. Okay. Well, Sam, sorry, there's a lot of opinionated elected
No,
people in this.
And I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of, more individual specific comments. I'm going through the draft right now, we are eager to get those comments from you, and even in advance of that next meeting would be awesome. So that we can start sifting and understanding some of the discussion points that we probably want you to spend some time on.
Well, for us too, as we go through it, with that shared document, we're gonna be able to see other people's comments.
I mean-
That'll be a starting point.
Well, I like Councilmember Highland's point of making sure that we start out this process by talking about what we can agree on that we believe our residents are really interested in and need. And I think that one of the challenges of a gentrified city like Cottonwood Heights is you have people that are on a very, very tight fixed income of all ages who can barely stay in their home. And these are homes that are not the median value of 700,000. These are homes far less in value. And they are, I think it's part of the blighting that's going on, dotting throughout our city. And then on the other hand, you have all the way to the other side of the spectrum of these multi-million-dollar homes where people want a lot of amenities. So we have this very, it's a city that's, has a lot of different pockets, I guess you could say. And some of them abut, I get calls from constituents who, they live in their $1.8 million house, and the houses that they have to drive through to get to their neighborhood are worth not even half that. And they're being blighted because they can't afford to pay their water bills. So it's a difficult process. I mean, for some people, what I get the most from my constituents is they want to be able to flow from where they live in suburbia toward a walkable area. Like, we get it. We don't expect a bus stop at every 2 blocks in Cottonwood. We're not, but the idea that there's a way to get to these places where whether you drive there and leave your car, and then you get out and you can walk, and the post office and the library, and I'm meeting so-and-so for lunch, and then I'm going to pick up this at the bakery and all, and then either get back in their car or get on their e-bike. But and so I'm very interested to find out what my 4 council colleagues are hearing. Is that something shared? Because I'm on the very eastern edge. My district is on the very eastern edge of Cottonwood Heights. And so are each of the districts, feeding these kind of comments, because that's our role, in my opinion. I mean, I may be opinionated, but I would like to think I do my best to leave that outside the door. When I come here, it's to represent the people that elected me. Yeah.
Well, good. Just one last question. So just with regard to the newsletter and the online platform, I guess what's the council,
might be a little
your
early
thought?
for that. We might need to develop more before we send to the public. I think that's probably the feelings, right?
Yeah,
It's about a month.
Yeah, we think the newsletter is a great way to reach probably the most people and to let them know of the project. If we don't do October, it would be November. I just want to be transparent and allow the public enough time to feel like they're included in the process.
Well, and don't
as
get me
well.
wrong, I think that newsletter should be talking about what the council is working on.
Okay.
So
maybe just-
I support the idea that there's an
But not
article in
launching a big
October
draft.
saying, it's been kind of on the shelf, so to speak. The council now with its 2 new members, et cetera, are starting to look at it. That's, I think, the kind of information I would like to see our public know, that we're getting this on the table.
If, I don't know if you're writing that article, who is, I think we need to also acknowledge that our vision now has been transformed by a pandemic. We live differently than the 2005 general plan because of the pandemic. And so even how many people are going to work and, are frequenting those restaurants. We see restaurants closing down near office buildings because there's not very many people there. That doesn't need to be in there, but I'm just saying that we need to, that's a good talking point for a newsletter article to say our lives have transformed. And so the general plan has to transform with it. That's not a huge event to us.
Okay, so we'll make sure that we highlight the project, but not necessarily post the draft until everyone's comfortable with that. Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Anything else? Council? Sam, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I know your team's gone to a lot of work. Thank you. And Jim, thank you.
Sure.
So and hopefully we have some good direction. We'll look forward to the next few meetings. Next couple of months. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, the last item under staff report, we're excited to have Sergeant Lance Best here with us, and Lance is going to come up and give us an emergency management report. You got a big new responsibility, Lance, and we're excited to hear about it. So.
Yes, sir.
Yes, move forward.
Oh, sorry.
Mayor, while he's setting up, there was something I noticed that wasn't on the calendar of events, and there's an event on Saturday, October 4th. I think you emailed
Because it was just.
on that.
So, I'll bring it up during the thing because I'm gonna, Thank you for that reminder, and I know
What-
exactly
what
what
is
you're
the
talking
event on
about. We
October
can't talk
4th?
about it yet.
Oh, you can't talk about it yet?
Better warn.
What? No. Why?
There's going to be a friendly match, baseball game, softball game between the police and the UFA and Congress Heights Police.
Oh, I wanna be there.
My own one requirement is that I get a hit.
What
for
time?
teams.
The police department goes strongly about supporting the healthy Cottonwood Heights program, where at least once a month we get the fire department to put down their video games. And so, just in that spirit of support for that unit, we wanted.
Well, if I hit a home run for one team and strike out for the other, I just. wanted to know.
We got the strongest thumbs in town.
Strongest thumbs in town.
Thanks, Steve. We'll bring it up again.
They've learned all the plays.
That's so easy.
Do we have a location for that yet?
Yeah, it's right across the street at the Brighton soft, but we chose the softball one because we worried about them making 90 feet. So we're good with the 60 and the fence is a little.
I've seen you guys run.
So-
Not too worried.
We'll be barbecuing and stuff.
You have a trainer coming, so they'll need it.
They're looking for some. If you know anybody.
Won't be fine, they may.
That's fun.
Okay, awesome. Okay, Lance, Sergeant Beth, rather.
Hope this works. Okay, well, this is my first time presenting in front of you all. Councilmember Highland and I, we have monthly meetings. Those have been, I'm starting to get used to them, so I glad to have at least a little lead up to this. Put this together. I'll try to be fairly quick. I know Matt wants me to go for an hour or so, so we'll see if we can meet his expectation. Now, we'll try to get this going pretty quick, hopefully for you, if I can figure out how to make this work on my screen. All right. So first off, as you know, our emergency management program for about the last 10 years or so has been led by Assistant Chief Paul Brenneman. He has been a great mentor over about the past year for me, because he brought me into this and kind of let me see what he's done and what we do for Cottonwood Heights. As many of you know, recently, over the past, 2 years ago, year and a half, whatever, I recently obtained a degree in emergency services administration with an emphasis in emergency management, disaster assistance. So that's the degree that I have, which then kind of puts me as a plug and play in a sense to this position. So I thank you for this opportunity and for allowing me, and I hope to meet your expectations in this. So we're going to go over some of the things as an EM, which we do, and then some of the stuff that we typically talk about in our monthly meetings with Councilmember Highland, and then kind of where we want to go. So like I said, I'll try to be semi-thorough, but semi-brief as well, because I know we have other meetings to get to here. So first off, like I say, we want to thank Assistant Chief Paul Brenneman. He's been amazing. So he'll be missed dearly. He actually stopped in already today. He cannot stay away, so we're grateful for that.
I thought, the only thing is he came in flip flops and no shorts, but
He did.
we'll thank him however he comes.
Exactly. So, but he has been amazing. I've known Chief Brenneman for many, many years, and he is definitely an amazing person. So we are very grateful for him, and I've got some big shoes to fill. So, as you know, our emergency managers, our responsibilities is really to deal with operation plans, training, and development. And then as we have a disaster, to basically coordinate that disaster amongst all of those players involved. And so a lot of what we develop now, will be utilized in the future, and so our relationships and, yeah, our relationships that we get now is literally what's going to help move us through. And then as we get through this, I'll explain some of the relationships that we have. So. All right, so our emergency management over the past year, we've been a little busy. So as you can see that we've got, some monthly meetings that we attend. So Salt Lake County Emergency Management, they put on a monthly meeting. Those meetings consist of literally bringing in every city, as well as large participants within the county to those meetings. That includes the Red Cross, the church, all the cities, Public Works, the health department, the hospitals, the UVU, et cetera, so we all come together and we have a meeting together, and we talk about things, and we all do it's really great to be able to meet each other, so, and to be able to develop those relationships. So anyway, so we do that monthly, and this is where Salt Lake County has a very large responsibility. And so what happened is that we, on the east side of the valley, felt like when we have an incident happen, as much as we want to use Salt Lake County, we can utilize the resources around us sometimes a little bit better. And so what we did is we formed a group on what we call it the east side emergency managers. And so that consists of a group here, which we'll get to here in just a minute, but we also meet together. And in instances within city to city, next door neighbors, basically city neighbors, a Holiday and Sandy, and not Sandy, but Holiday and South Salt Lake, et cetera. We've all joined together and agreed to help each other out. And then shortly we'll develop an MOU to be able to, this is kind of a growing development partnership with our local communities and neighbors. So, and then we have our monthly meeting with Councilman Highland, and we have our monthly steering committee. And that is, as you know, we have split out our city into districts, and every district has a representative. And this includes the church, so the 3 churches that we have, as well as, or 3 church members or groups. So we all meet together, we kind of discuss, where we're going, what we're doing, and then each of these districts play huge, they're part of our April shakeout. So as many of you have seen, we have a shakeout that happens in April, which is part of the Great Utah Shakeout, but we do our own little city shakeout. And then in these groups or these districts are broken out into precincts, which is basically a size of like a ward. And then within that, we have block captains, and the block captains go around, they collect data, and then they report it to their precinct leaders then report it to the district leaders, which then gets reported to us here at the city, which gives us basically a real-time data and real-time status of every resident within the city. And you guys have all seen this and you come out to this. And it's a really great drill that we do, but it is definitely, when we have a disaster, it's going to be additional boots on the ground that we can't facilitate. And so our local residents are going to help participate and feed us that data so that we can focus our disaster recovery efforts as best as possible.
That reporting now gets done by radio too.
And it gets all done by ham radio, exactly. So which is totally outside of cell phones. So in case cell phones are down, we have that by ham radio. Yeah. So anyways,
I'm
I'll
gonna
bounce.
interject on that.
You may.
I think that's one of our gaps that we have to address is we've got have a younger group replacing those ham radio operators.
Gotta
So-
get the younger kids interested.
I know, they don't
So
know anything
video
else.
game, ham radio.
I
for
just
some
want
reason.
the council to be aware
Yeah, I agree.
that we have some who will age out by maybe passing away even, and we might end up with big gaps.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a need for, we have some other opportunities here that we're gonna explain and address here in just a few moments to hopefully address some of that.
Would they help others get licensed if there was a desire from somebody? Like if I said, hey, go to the group, hey, could you help me go through the process so I can continue doing
You know,
business?
I hate to say this, but I think I have a ground to talk about this. Ham radios are really big in the world of sailing and
Mhm.
navigation. And it has been on its way out for decades. And I think that the kind of people that it's a hobby for them, they're listening in, oh, I got connected to Paris or somewhere. So I don't know if it's realistic to think that younger generations with all their distractions with video games and everything else that they have to do. I don't know that it's realistic. I'm sure in other
You have enough to
cities
do.
that we have, I mean, we have a unique, amazing, citizenry in Cottonwood Heights that are very unique. And I visited with the man on Blue Jay Lane who does his ham radio, and my husband used to do ham radio, but he let go of it, I don't know, 20 years ago. And it's just, I think it's something that was marvelous, but I think it's not the way forward, and we need to do what other communities are doing and accept that I don't think we can keep.
Well, so if communication systems are down, the ham radio allows you in an emergency disaster type situation to still communicate with the city and other. So I think,
I mean, if the police.
and I was just gonna say, in the name of service and community, I think maybe I know what you're talking about. You're not gonna get teenagers, but I think you could get, Matt's generation.
Midlife crisis,
Yeah.
folks. I know.
Maybe. Yeah, like I say,
Or are you saying there's technology that's available that you could? Is there different?
There is.
Yeah, there's satellite and other things that have replaced.
There is. Ham radio has recently been brought back into Salt Lake County Emergency Management and the state and the Salt Lake County. They do conduct drills. So as much as we would like, it definitely is an older generational type thing, and it's something that we definitely have to plan for. And it's like I say, we'll explain that here, but it's
I didn't mean to derail you, but.
you're fine. It's still currently being utilized.
Finals coming back, come on.
Oh, I should have kept all that stereo equipment.
Yeah.
I worked hard to buy that stereo equipment.
So, and then currently we've got, we're still working on the hazard mitigation plan, which we'll ask you to adopt here eventually. It's still in the works. We'll talk about that. And then, we just recently put together a Salt Lake County basically evacuation maps, which is gonna be incorporated into that Salt Lake County hazard mitigation plan map. And then, with coming and being new into the emergency management field for the city, we did test some things out with Butlerville Days. So we were able to, as Chief Brenneman always did, he contacted the National Weather Service so we could stay up to date in case we had any potential lightning strikes or bad weather or wind gusts that were going to come up, to where we could be prepared for that. As well as we prepared, after action plans basically, and we're able to send those out. So at least to kind of give an idea of what's going on. Because I think it'll be something that we'll need to utilize here in the next coming years. So anyways, we put on lots of trainings. You all were subject to our training this past year, so thank you very much. It does fulfill one of our requirements for FEMA and make sure that we can get reimbursed in case we do have a disaster. So anyways. So our partnerships, we have some vast partnerships, right? I recently met with the LDS Church in-house here. One of our lacking partnerships that's actually listed on here is the Canyon School District. We don't currently have an MOU with them. And so that is something that we actively need to do and get. There have been MOUs in place with other school districts, but we are still lacking. So that's one thing that we're going to work on here in the next year. I guess.
What is the barrier to that?
I am not sure. I would like to have a good answer for you on that. I don't have a contact there yet.
I can help.
You can help me with that?
Yeah, you should go through Doc and then.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly. Yeah, I don't know yet. I haven't expanded that.
We can find that out. We've got folks and president to the superintendent that we can get to.
Oh, yeah, great.
Talk to them.
Excellent. That's one of our next things that we need to do. But with all the others though, like I say, we have representatives on our steering committee that's part of the churches. So we have St. Thomas More, the Canyons Baptist Church, South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society. So they're all part of it, as well as we've met with the American Red Cross. We do that on a monthly basis. The National Weather Service, we're constantly in contact with them. Department of Emergency Management with the state, they're always at the meetings as well as we were constantly dealing with emergency, Salt Lake County. So, and then of course, as you know, the Cottonwood Heights, the rec center, maybe you don't know, is our shelter. So, and we do have an MOU in place for them in case we did have to do a shelter, temporary shelter. So, but off to the upper right-hand corner, I've got those cities that are outlined, and that is our East Side group. So those are the cities that participate. We have South Salt Lake, Holiday, Mill Creek, Murray, and Salt Lake City, actually. So, well, at least half of those cities have combined emergency managers. Salt Lake City, of course, being a larger city, has future. Or far, yeah, in a long distance away. But if we're not ready for it, when it does happen, we're not going to be ready for it. And it takes time to get a lot of these things in place, especially plans, as you know. So just another plug-in is to a full-time potential emergency manager position would be definitely beneficial as if we could do it. So. All right, so this is what we just talked about real quick is our Cottonwood Heights Amateur Radio Club. They are really they are an integral part of our emergency management program here at Cottonwood Heights for now. They are our hand volunteer radio operators, and as Councilmember Highland stated, they are aging. So we do have a couple of younger groups, but they're still, we don't have anyone, you know, super young, or the one that was about 22 years old, we unfortunately had to pull out because he was doing additional things outside of his realm and interfering with other public safety radios. So that's
a good way to say it was it up.
He was innovative.
Yeah.
So, but we do have some olders that are definitely dedicated, but of course, when we do have a disaster, the reality is how many of us are actually gonna, or how many of them are actually gonna be able to come and make it here, or without taking care of their own, or how many are on vacations, etc. So we do have to come up with additional options. So, but they are actively involved. They conduct these annual drills with us. In fact, just this week, we've got our flood watch drill coming on Thursday. So they'll be in the house, and then we'll be doing a localized drill for a small minor event. Not a large stand-up DOC, but just as a smaller event in case, you know, as you know, we've got flooding potentials here in the city. So, and then we've got the April and the mini shakeout. So
we need an ordinance that says the mayor will be backup ham radio operator.
yes, we do.
Okay.
That is 100% true. Yes. We did have to cancel our CERT training this last year. We did not get a lot of participation. I think we had 6 sign up. We can go up to 30 with this. We are going to heavily publicize and
Can we
announce
do this with the UFA or with the county?
Yes, UFA is our contract for CERT, so they do teach that. It does have to be a federally certified trainer, so UFA is our contract to do that with.
So am I reading that right? October 25th is the opportunity to do it again?
So this flyer that you're seeing right now is our East Side group that's being put on. We are putting on a fall preparedness conference. It is being hosted in South Salt Lake City. But the first part of our first half of the day is literally going to be, we're going to have booths, and we're going to have training breakout sessions. And so regarding ham, Stop the Bleed, if you're familiar with Stop the Bleed, basically, you know, we can stop the bleed, we can potentially save a life. And then Moulage, basically doing disaster realistic scenarios. And then we'll have a search skill station, you know, trying to learn some of those basic skills. The latter half of this conference is for Mill Creek and South Salt Lake City for their CERT to pass off on their last week. So at the end of the CERT training, you have to basically pass off the skills course. And so that's what that's going to be, part of that. So, but everybody is invited, everybody's able to come, you know, everybody's invited to come and see what we have. So this is the first of its kind. It's our first year doing this. So we'll see what participation we get, but it should be a great event in case you want to come out.
So anybody who's not in those classes now will get their certification.
That is correct. Yeah. So if you're not, what's that?
Can you come and observe the?
You can definitely come and observe. We'd love for you to participate as a disaster, as a participant in the scenarios. We'll happy to moulage you up and throw, you know, and pretend that you're hurt and injured in any manner, and you'll get attended to. So that is definitely the the thought process there, but you're definitely welcome to come see what it is and then hopefully gain interest so that we can then put you through our own circle class. So like I say, and we're anticipating to do that at the end of January. So
Starting at the end of January is what, 10 weeks,
I believe it was 8 weeks.
8 weeks?
So then, of course, the big part of us is emergency operations plan. Like I say, we are currently working on the Salt Lake County multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. It had, all of our cities had the ability to interact and add to that plan. It had gone to county council and was approved, but it has now been sent to the state. The state DEM has sent it back for some corrections. So once we get it corrected and I get a finalized piece of that, we will then ask for it to be adopted here as for us so that we can, like say, fulfill that piece of our requirements. And then we're going to work with Chief Pilgrim here regarding the House Bill 48 requirements, which requires our wildlife urban interface updates, as well as the insurance plans that are being provided or being required now. And then, of course, we're going to work with planning as well with this and reevaluate our firework restriction access.
I wonder if we got to Chief Pilgrim, you know about this. I mean,
Yeah.
we have residents that will get a new tax through this because of this bill that are in those.
Yeah.
Determined to be in those areas. We don't have any idea what those are gonna be yet,
Not
but
yet. We have some ideas, but nothing definitive. The rule is literally in the final stages of being finalized, so it can go out for public comment. I've taken a look at how this impacts Cottonwood Heights, and majority of the homes that may fall into that category are all east of Wasatch. And so the state, I don't want to speak too soon because I don't know if the state will land on. They definitely have some proposed language that would add a fee for living in the interface. That's statewide. It's based off of a exposure score that they put a lot of work into developing. And so the intent was to provide guidance to insurance companies, because what we've seen in Utah is a lot of people are losing their homeowners insurance because companies are refusing to.
So in addition to those who live near the wildland urban, in the wildland urban interface, either their home insurance has already gone up and doubled in the last 2 years. Then additionally, the state wants to charge those people living in those areas an additional fee.
There's a lot behind it. Yes, the insurance companies have to utilize the state's data because a lot of insurance companies utilize their own proprietary data, which is also fairly reliable, but sometimes over aggressive. The state has a fairly good evaluation or assessment program to use, and the fee is intended to help with education, mitigation, and prevention. And so the hard thing is, if you live in these interface areas, the responsibility is really on you to make sure your home is defendable and survivable in the event of a fire. And so the state is trying to take additional steps to help homeowners be successful in that. But it's kind of one of the challenges of living in an interface area is how do we find a solution to address that problem? And so the fee is to help cover education, again, mitigation, prevention. And
Well, I thought I heard you say for the insurance companies to receive education.
oh no, well,
For the
they're,
residents.
yeah, well, the fee covers that. So the fee will go to the state of Utah, go through the county, the way it's designed. It will cover the cost of the program for the education, implementation, mitigation. And the intent is to prevent insurance companies from either raising your rates too high or pulling out altogether. They actually have to go through the state insurance commission if they propose a certain fee increase or choose to drop your insurance. They actually have to run that through the commission. So it actually prevents insurance companies from wholesale dropping people. But there has to be a catch. There has to be a way to solve the bigger problem, which is living in the interface and reducing fire risk. So it's definitely been a challenging and difficult
Yes.
piece of legislation and problem to solve. So,
What is the name of the commission?
well, it's the state tax or the state insurance commission. So it's one of the state commissions.
Would this Would the area that we went and helped residents could be considered part of that
No.
interface? Okay, that's
No.
that's what I wanna make
The
sure.
one thing, I don't go too far into this, but the thing that we're challenged with is the state will create their interface map
Mhm.
where the fee will exist, which is a score of 5 or above, 5 to 10. It's a scale of 1 to 10. 5 to 10 is who gets the fee. And basically in Colwood Heights, roughly on my initial inspection of the map that the state has on their website, it's Wasatch above.
And how significant is the fee? Have
I don't
you
want
discussed
Not
anything?
yet, but it's cents. And it'll be based on the square footage,
Square footage of the lot
the
on
whole
which the house,
property. Just
or the size
property.
of the house?
Size of the property, yeah, not the lot, but the size of the
That
house.
the size of the house will
Yeah.
dictate the fee?
And the risk score, if you're a 5 to 10, your fee will be between a certain range, like 16 cent difference between 5 and a 10. But like I said, not to belabor it, I think the important thing is what we'll be working on here shortly is the state has identified their risk area. They've tasked the cities or municipalities to identify your own interface area. That part of that will overlap with the states, but a good chunk of that will not get the fee, but it'll be Colwood Heights interface areas, and then that's where the WUI code, so the International Wildfire Urban Interface Code. So it's a construction code and a defensible space code. It's an international code, just like the building code. That'll be applicable in all the areas Colwood Heights determines to be your interface. So that's the second layer, and then the third layer, which we're gonna talk about, is fireworks, because technically where the fireworks overlap, you would think the interface map for Colwood Heights would overlap, but there might be some things that we want to look at there. Because we don't want to be
That was-
overly aggressive on
I'm-
that either.
I'm actually refraining. I really want to interject this question quickly, and I don't mean to take away from Officer Bess's
Yeah,
presentation, but I think this is so important. So the measures that Cottonwood Heights has already taken to, ban fireworks, throughout much of the eastern side of the city. If our municipality were to even take a bigger step toward diminishing the fireworks that are, going on throughout all residential areas, would the state, do you believe that the state would take into consideration what a municipality is doing to prevent these wildland or wildfire? I mean, do you see where I'm taking
yeah,
this?
not that I've seen. I think they've really left firework restrictions up to each individual municipality, and they have not. I've not seen anywhere in the state where they've been like, hey, good job, that's awesome, we're gonna throw you a bone. I think they just anticipate that's your responsibility as an entity. You decide where you want the risk to exist. But they've definitely drawn a hard line on what they agree is an urban interface. And that's one thing they're kind of tying our hands on, but what they have not tied our hands on is identifying our own interface areas and firework restrictions and all that. My concern is if we get too aggressive with firework restrictions and the WUI code for Colwood Heights, then the state could easily next year say, well, anywhere you've identified as interface, this will apply, right? So I think we want to be really cautious and thoughtful on what we identify as interface areas and not. And I've spent years looking at interface areas here, and I feel like our map is really good. It's hard because there's pockets, right, that always pop up. I'm saying, God, I missed that. But on the other hand, I think we've done a really, really good job. And our map is in a really good place. Our map is very surgical in Colwood Heights, where if you go look like a Mill Creek or a Sandy, it's just like 13th East period. And there's a lot of areas that are being restricted that don't technically fall into the intent. So I feel like we do our due diligence, and the best thing to do is really define this the right way, so it's not overly excessive. But we're meeting the intent, right? Not doing too little as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. There's a lot. This is technical. There's a lot that goes into this one, so.
Well, it's super important. I mean, see
Yeah.
the tragedy go on,
Yeah.
California with Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yes, and our partners at UFA, I think thanks for Chief here to be able to explain that, because we are relying heavily on them to be able to lead this piece of it, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we'll try to make this as less painless as possible for the next, all right? Okay, so this is typically when we meet on a monthly basis with Councilmember Highland, we talk about the weather because that is very influential into how our spring runoff is and to, well, wildfire itself, right? Those are our two big things outside of earthquake, right? That we'll potentially get here in the city. So looking at our precipitation, that over the last little bit, 30 days, we saw a little above precipitation, and then the rest of the state is remaining a little too
The
low.
last
So
30 days was above average.
that's what it's saying. So
Wow.
this is coming from the National Weather Service. I mean, we did have some good rain
Yeah,
the last
yeah.
little bit. So last night it rained at my place, so. However, we did have some super big restrictions that happened regarding fires. The fire level has shifted back down to its normal piece, and we're expecting that through October to come back down again. So that's good news that our wildfire or fire risk is dropping as well. So grateful for that. And then our seasonal outlooks, we are looking at above temperatures for the next 3 months, with below precipitation levels over the next 3 months. And then in the next 6 months, you know, outside of that 3 to 6 months, we're looking at equal chances of our temperatures. So roughly staying about the same, what we're used to as average. And then same thing with precipitation being equal chances. They're stating that this year will pretty much be about the same as last year as far as what we're looking for snow and things like that. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Some quick things that came out of and what we're doing, what's going on here. Our Salt Lake County Emergency Management meeting that we had just recently. One thing they had, Salt Lake County Animal Services did a presentation, and they informed me of something that I was not even aware of, is that it doesn't matter whether the Salt Lake County Animal services your district or not, but they offer free microchipping to all pets. So it's something that's definitely helpful, because when you're trying to reunite pets, often collars disappear, missing, whatever else.
Jared, let's put that in the newsletter.
I didn't realize they did free, yeah.
Yeah,
Put that in
so
the next newsletter.
as long as you show up with your city pet license, you're in Salt Lake County, they will give you a free microchip. So,
As long as you have a city license.
yep, city license.
So that might.
But you need a microchip to get a license.
Oh, I thought that was optional.
No, it is. I'm
I-
just-
okay.
It's like a.
Let's just remember that.
Yeah,
Circular, yeah, like you'd want.
They didn't say it was a final deal.
Your license.
Right.
If you were to prove that you live within Cottonwood Heights within Salt Lake County, they will microchip your animal for free.
I mean, that's a great way to say, hey, if you'll come and register your pet with Cottonwood Heights, the county will microchip them for free.
Yep, 100%. So then a measles update, I know that's a kind of a big part. There's 19 total cases so far, measles outbreak. They're all 12 of them are within the southwestern portion of the state, and 7 in Utah County. So nothing in Salt Lake County as of right now. So that's where we sit. And then our training, if you want to attend, there's ICS 400 training going on November 12th to the 14th. There is a PIO conference that's occurring next week. And then we do have our animal sheltering and planning that we are putting on, which is it used to be a quarterly training. It's now kind of been turned into a biannual training right now, but we'll be putting that on here November 13th. And then we, again, Thursday, we have a Mill Hollow precinct training that we'll be providing for them. And that will be with an actual precinct training, just kind of like what we did last year with our block captains and things like that. And then it looks like I doubled the animal sheltering and planning because, you know, I was super excited over that. So I'm sure there was something else that was going on there. Anyways, upcoming drills, like I said, we have our Shark Wolf Eyes drill also Thursday, and then our mini shakeout will be November 8th. And so that will just be practicing our communications between our district leaders and our EOC here. And then we have our Cottonwood Heights shakeout, which will occur on April 18th of next year. So we've already established our date there, and it does not fall on any church meetings or spring break. That was the big one for this year. The way we had about an 18% turnout this last year. And then the Butler District Halloween Trunk or Treat is on October 29th. We'll be participating, and we'll also be handing out pamphlets regarding e-bikes and e-motorcycles that you are aware of, which has recently hit our news.
Can I piggyback on that real quick? We do have a space for the council as well. You can come as long as you want, click trunk or treat and hand out candy or whatever as well.
So is this the one that's sponsored by the CHBA?
Yes.
Is this different?
Or no, this is different, sorry.
That
This
one's
is the-
different.
Oh,
That is the
Sorry, I
Butler
meant,
District.
I meant our trunk
That
or
is-
treat. I was thinking our trunk or treat.
what?
You're right.
Butler does.
Yeah.
They have their own, you're right.
They have their own.
Sorry.
And then we do have some precinct changes going on within our Brighton district for what we've got. And just a couple of last things. I think I'm up to my hour with Matt. He's not paying attention now.
Yeah.
There we go. Where do we want to go? So where do we want to take our program? This is kind of what we talked about with our Shark community, our Cottonwood Heights Amateur Radio Club. Like I say, they are getting older. So I'm gonna miss the very first piece. We'll come back to that. So we're gonna talk about our Shark members, and then the next piece underneath that. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the program called Starlink. You may or may not like its founder, but Starlink is a satellite-based service that you can get. It's actually fairly inexpensive and it works really well. And that leads me to this, which, because I do go camping and I enjoy camping, boonddock camping, so I don't have service where I need to go. I have purchased my own Starlink. And so the chief wanted me just to have you to show kind of how small and how easy it really is. So this is your Starlink dish. This is what I have, a mini, so Starlink mini. This is your dish. It's not super cheap, but it's fairly inexpensive. I mean, it's doable, right? You set this up, you plug it into a power source. So I've just plugged mine into a 12-volt power supply, which I have just a little portable power bank. This will run this link for about 10 hours. So I'll have uplink for about 10 hours with this power source. And it Wi-Fi's to my computer, and I have internet. I can use calling over Wi-Fi. I can do text messaging, pretty much everything. I have connection wherever I need to go as long as I have a clear view of the sky. So works amazing. The upload speeds with this, I'm getting 250 to 300 upload, download, and about 20 to 30 upload. So megabyte per
That's
second.
respectable.
So
Amazing.
very great. It's been very reliable, and
Doesn't work if it's cloudy?
it does work if it's cloudy. It does. You just need a clear view of the sky. When I say clear view of the sky, meaning no roof overhangs,
Oh, got
no trees, things like that. You just need a clear view of the sky. So it does work when it's raining. It does work when it's cloudy, things like that. But it's a very simple, easy design. And as you can see, I put it into a small little case, so it's an easy, quick go box, but it does provide communications on the fly, and it only takes about a minute to set up and you get going and rocking. So with that, that is a thought for us that we would definitely like to try to implement here in our management program, is to get maybe a couple of those units and have those out so that we could have that ability. Like I say, you hook your phone up to it, you've got Wi-Fi calling. So it's not like we need to get another service. There is a subscription fee. It is actually fairly minor, and you can always suspend these subscription fees if you're not utilizing it for that month.
Your power source, when you go out camping, you just using a generator.
I can use a generator, or like I said, that little box that I have. Yep, I can solar that up, or like I said, that thing will power it for 10 hours. I've got a bunch of those. Or like say, I will kick on my generator and I'll power it that way too. But with the trucks that we currently have, obviously our vehicles and things like that, it is very accessible to work off, because most of our trucks and vehicles now have the inverters built inside them. So you just plug right into it. Like say, you can do 12-volt DC, or you can run AC off of it, run off AC. And that brings into our next piece, and jumping back to our upper one, is that we have an old outdated truck that sits in the parking lot, which may or may not be something that we get to see every time we pull in, but that truck is believed to have lived its life. That truck, while it has a great indoor box to it, the mechanics of it right now, we took it to go have it serviced, and the cost to have it repaired every year is becoming in the thousands and thousands of dollars. So right now it's in need of some major mechanical work. So we are hoping, and you'll hear about this later, we'll let the chief explain a little bit more about it, but we would like to get a new and updated trailer or some sort, which would include a restroom facility, which our current system does not have, and something as we get out, or if we had to evacuate this facility that we wouldn't have currently. So something that we would like to have in the future. And then, of course, we would like to be able to include a Starlink on top of that trailer or box to be able to assist in communications. So
Yeah, that's the vision. You'll have coming before you a surplus from Mr. Jurgis for that vehicle. Hope to sell it, take the monies with other monies and buy a trailer, probably without an engine, so we can just tug it with our existing vehicles. And put the Starlink in it, to your point, where they are aging out, and great system, love to augment it, but this is the future, and that's where I'd like to go. And deploy these Starlinks. See, if you look around the country in any major disaster, that's what salvaged them, was the ability to have the Starlink. UFA, now this kills me to say that, is a little bit ahead of me, because they actually have these in their PC vehicles
That's the plan.
for this very purpose. So as you know, our trucks have electrical outlets on them now. They're, they're hybrids. We could deploy these in the truck. So you'll be seeing, we'll talk about it at the retreat, I assume, but I'll be going to Jared and asking for some monies to outfit this trailer. The restroom's big, because what do you do on those deals? If you have to have that, and then a meeting facility, and then deploy the Starlink and get up and running much more efficient. It's what we need to do. So. Anyway, thank you. He did a nice job. He's very good at this.
Okay, any questions? Sorry, I took up a lot of your time.
When you had a group of, a list of resources for emergency supplies, I have one I'll just sit here and share with you that you can contract with,
Yes.
that's probably quite a bit of what you end up using.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, perfect. Great.
Well, Sergeant Best, thank you. So this first time went great. Don't plan on it being your last, so I'm sure we'll get you back in
Not
here.
fired then. Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, item 5 on our agenda is just a review of our upcoming events. Wednesday, September 17th from 1:30 to 2:30 is our senior social. That is Wednesday.
Tomorrow.
Today, the 16th.
I know, how can that be? Yeah.
Is it bingo?
Yes.
Awesome.
I talked to Annette about that again. It's what gets people out,
Yeah.
is a socialization, should not have an ice cream, it's bingo.
Bingo.
And though the senior centers do board games at lunchtime too, so
Yeah.
I'll come out and play Scrabble with them.
do it.
I'm not being good on that.
Friday, September 26th from 5 to 7:30 is the community block party at Hillside Plaza. Hopefully we can get a chance to be there for all of us. October 6th through the 12th. October 6th through November 12th is the Historic Committee lobby display. So that'll be fun. That'll be a fun thing to see here at City Hall. And then Friday, October 10th from 6:30 to 9 at City Hall is the Special Effects Halloween Makeup Workshop.
Registration's open if you want.
It's open to all community members, and the age is 14 plus, cost is $20. Wednesday, October 15th from 1:30 to 2:30 City Hall is the next senior social. Friday, October 24th from 5 to 7 at the Commonwealth Rec Center is the Monster Mash. November 17th through January 5th is the Winter Lobby Art Display. We'll look forward to that. Monday, December 1st from 5 to 7:30 at City Hall is Light the Heights. And Saturday, December 6th is the concert at Butler Middle School from 7:30 to 9, the Christmas concert with the Club 6.
Did I miss, when is the trunk or treat? Is that on that calendar?
It's not, I missed it, so I.
It's on there, okay.
What date is it?
June 31st, isn't it?
Is it actually on
It's
Halloween?
Friday.
Yeah, it is on Halloween, actually.
And so then what you're saying is,
There is,
last year when Councilmember Rell and I were there,
Mhm.
they said, why don't we have a council trunk?
we'll have a
that'd be
space,
pretty fun.
we'll bring some kind of city vehicle out and put it there for you, and maybe it'll be the EM truck if we haven't sold it.
So what costume are you gonna wear?
I have a clown costume, that would probably be a.
I'll man it
great
if none of you are available at a time, I'll man it and be there, so, but you can come at any time you want, if you wanna stand
And
there.
you wearing my name tag?
Yes,
Okay.
I
perfect.
can wear all of them.
Well, then I was
All
there.
on.
Put them all on.
So we do have an item to discuss in a closed session concerning real property purchase or lease. So if I could get a motion to leave our business work session and enter into a closed session, and then to adjourn our work session at the end of the closed session.
So moved.
Okay, we go to that?
The motion is to go into closed session to discuss acquisition or lease of real property, correct?
Yes, I said that.
I motioned.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great.